Hi guys, I'm Saif and I'm here to tell you about how to study in Canada, how to choose a college, the costs involved, which province you can study in, and everything involved with starting your journey in Canada. So, the reason I decided that I wanted to come to Canada was because the PR process after you study here is much easier compared to the other countries. The cost of living can easily be computed by around a 53 in INR to $1 exchange rate. When it comes to tuition and living, what you need to consider is that different colleges are located in different areas which have a different standard of living. For the colleges that I looked at, they were in similar areas, so the standard of living, the rents were approximately the same. So here's a cool tip. If you live close to college, people know they can charge higher rents. But if you live a little far away from college, if you're okay with commuting, you can easily save up to $100 or $200 on the commute. So with the tuition cost, it keeps changing every year. When I studied in 2018, it was around $15,500. I checked the website before recording this video and the same course now is around $17,500. One tip I'd give you if you want to reduce the cost of tuition, if you have the required experience, can wait a bit before coming here and you believe that you're eligible for PR, do your research, apply for a PR, and then if you really want to study, come here. Why would I say that? It's because your tuition cost would literally be half the cost that you'd pay as an international student. So I'm currently in Toronto and you can live the life of your dreams, the thing you see in movies, or you can live a simple life where you don't spend a lot of money, save a bit, and then eventually spend on things you really enjoy. That's up to you. But I would definitely suggest that you look up the areas that you'll be staying in. Toronto's a big city. There's Mississauga and Brampton, which are the Indian part of GTA, and there's Scarborough as well. In these three areas, you can find places for cheaper rent. When it comes to downtown Toronto, it's like any other downtown in any other part of the world. It's extremely expensive, but also extremely convenient. So it depends on you really. Where do you want to live and how much can you commute? Remember, if you're coming to Toronto, it's going to be 6 months of snow. And if you've never seen snow, I had never seen snow and I had never seen so much snow. It's going to be snow up till your ankles at least, and on bad days, it's going to be snow up till your knees. So factor that in when you're planning your commutes. A 1.5 hour commute in summer seems easy to do. A 1.5 hour commute easily becomes a 2.5 hour commute if it's winter and the trains are shut and the buses aren't running on time. So the next factor that I considered was return on investment. But before I speak more about return on investment, I really want you to take a second and think about why you want to come to Canada to study. If study is the main part and you want to go back and use your skills, I'd suggest going for an MBA. With me, the case was that I wanted more points for my PR application. 2, I wanted to have a friend circle and a network. And 3, I just wanted to have some Canadian education experience so that I can talk about something similar in interviews. But if you're looking to actually get a wholesome experience, do an MBA in marketing, I'd suggest going to one of the schools. The cost though is very different. Like I said, in 2018, my course fee was around $15,500 for the whole year. But when it comes to an MBA, it's around 35 to 50,000 based on the college you choose. Though if you compare it to countries like the US or even Australia, it's much cheaper. If you want to settle down in Canada, here's a fun fact. So Canada is the second largest country based on just sheer landmass, and the population of Canada is around 37.5 million. The population of Mumbai right now is around 44 million. So there's a lot of opportunity and they want a lot of people. The reason you should do a course in one of these colleges is so that you can get a PR very easily. A PR makes you eligible to stay here for 5 years, and then you can renew it or choose to become a citizen of the country. So that's the biggest return on investment that I see. You're not just studying here, you're building a whole new life. So when it comes to job opportunities, like I said, Canada needs people for a lot of different jobs. But one tip that I'll give you is nowadays people from all over the world are making Canada their new home, and they have a lot of rich and valuable experience. So before you're coming to study here, I'd suggest having at least 2 or 3 years of experience, preferably in an MNC, so that you know how the work culture operates and how to go about things when you're in a work-like setting. The reason I say this is because your course might have a co-op. What's a co-op? A co-op is basically an internship for any period between 1 month to 4 months. If you're lucky enough, you can convert that into a full-time job. Ideally, for an internship which might be unpaid, you think that you don't need a lot of experience, but in your classroom, which is around 50 to 60 people, there will be people with experience who'll bag the best co-ops. But if you do have 2 or 3 years of relevant experience before you join the course, you have a better chance of getting that co-op and ideally converting it into a full-time job. So one thing that I absolutely love is the Canadian work-life balance. In Canada, there's a lot of respect given to your personal time, but there's a lot of hard work put in during your professional time. What I mean to say is that if you have a 9 to 5, it is going to be a 9 to 5. You enter office at 8:59, you leave at 4:59, nobody says anything. But during that time, you do have to put in a lot of hard work. There won't be working weekends. There might be in some industries, but not a lot. There won't be after hour work calls unless you're working with teams from abroad. And the best part about it is everyone is really welcoming. But that's just the professional experience that you get here. Sometimes you might be working at a coffee shop, you might be driving an Uber, you might be working as a car mechanic, you might be doing something else, which in India typically wouldn't be considered a good job. But here there's a lot of dignity of labor. Everyone will thank you when you serve them that coffee. Everyone will thank you when you drop them off in an Uber. And that's a really good feeling. A lot of students do a lot of part-time jobs, and there's no problem in doing those. You'll get a lot of respect and you'll feel good about yourself while earning some extra pocket money, which goes a long way when you're in summer, in the middle of summer, and you really want to experience a whole lot of different things. So when it comes to my personal experience, I worked around 3.5 years in advertising back in India. So advertising is a crazy field. It's rightly called a field for mad men and women. Ideally, you'd start work at 11 a.m. and you never knew when you would finish. 3.5, 4 years of that got me extremely tired because I literally did not know what time I would reach home the next day. That was one major reason why I decided to move to Canada, because I'd heard great things about how life is here when it comes to the work-life balance. And that's something that I was seeking because I was quite honestly really burnt out with the advertising culture back home. Also, commuting here is a breeze. It's very easy even in the middle of winter. The government helps a lot with clearing the streets, clearing the subway tracks, the footpaths. Everything is in great shape. Because the commute time is cut short, you're not spending a lot of time out in the freezing cold. And you actually kind of end up thanking the government for it. The next and very important factor that I considered when choosing courses and colleges was the availability of co-op. A co-op is basically an internship that the college allows you to do and gives you a lot of contacts with great companies so that you can apply directly from college. If it's one of the big companies, it's up to you to work really hard and put across your message in your resume. What is your story? Write a great cover letter and try to convert that into a full-time opportunity. That's one of the easiest ways that you can get a job the next day that you graduate. So look for a co-op in your course. It's extremely important, and I'd suggest not doing a course if it doesn't involve a co-op element. So the next factor that I considered was the visa approval process for the student visa and also the work visa after. When it comes to the student visa, I'd say about 80 to 90% of it depends on your SOP or statement of purpose. You need to spend a lot of time and effort to write your SOP. What is the main purpose of the SOP? It's to let the visa officer know that you will come back to your home country once the course is done. Even if you have a plan of staying here, working and applying for a PR, the job of the SOP, the work that the SOP should do is to let the visa officer know at that time that you will come back to your home country. Now, when it comes to the work visa, it's quite a simplified process and you'll be applying for it after your course is done. In Canada, if you study for 1 year, I should clarify a bit on that as well. Here, if you're studying in the public colleges like I did, it's said to be a 1 year course, but it's ideally 8 months. So the semesters are from Jan to September and from September to March or April. But it's said to be a 1 year course. Once you're done with your course, if you've studied for 1 year, you can get a 1 year work permit. If you've studied for 2 years, initially you could get a 3 year work permit, but now the rules have changed and you'll get a 2 year work permit. So that puts your total stay in Canada as 3 years if you study for 2 years here. So the last factor that I considered was the minimum wage that you can get while working part-time here and to support your living and housing expenses while you do your course. You get around 20 hours a week by the government so that you can work along with your course, and that really helps with supporting your living expenses. The minimum wage is different by province. In Ontario, you can get $14 an hour as minimum wage. But if you're working as a server or a bartender, you technically earn more in tips. So you'll get 12 and a half an hour, but then you'll earn more in tips. So this is really important when you're trying to support yourself in a new country and converting mentally in your head. $1 is around 56 right now, I think. It really helps when you have some money in the pocket to spend. After you graduate your course, if you've got zero experience, I'll talk specifically about marketing. You could earn anywhere between 35 to 45,000 a year. If you do have some experience, try to negotiate for a higher salary. You might end up with around $50,000 to $60,000. That would be a good start to life in Canada. Obviously, when you're deciding to study abroad, you have to consider your expenses every day and every month. That's a really big factor when you're deciding between US, Canada, Australia, or New Zealand. The exchange rate can actually mess up with your head. When you're buying a bread for like 150 rupees or you're buying a carton of milk for 300 bucks, it will get you a bit worried. But I can help you with planning the basic expenses that you might have when you're in Canada. One website that I used was Numbeo. What Numbeo does is it's a crowdsourced activity where people put in their expenses by province and also by city. You can go through the huge list of expenses on Numbeo, pick out the ones that you think you will be doing on a daily or monthly basis, and set up a rough budget so that you know exactly how much you might be spending here and how much you need to earn in minimum wage when you're working part-time along with your course. So if you've planned to study here, trust me, you'll need to put in a lot of hard work to know about all the expenses that you might incur so that you're not up for any new surprises when you do land here. Trust me, the cold will surprise you enough anyway. So here's how I went about it. I used a lot of Google to find out various little things such as minimum wage, the cost of tuition, the cost of rents in various areas around my college, and Google helped me a lot with all these factors. I could set up a rough budget, and thankfully when I landed here, it was just about $50-$60 give or take, but I was on budget. So guys, spend a lot of time on Google and find various lists of expenses that people have incurred here, so that you have a rough idea of how much you might be spending and how much you need to make while you're going through your course in Canada. Also, something important that you can do is try to find students who are doing either the same course or are at least in the same college on Facebook or on LinkedIn, and contact them directly. What that will help you with is knowing a little more about the college, the culture of the college, and more importantly, the expenses that are incurred almost every other day when you're attending classes, having cups of coffee, a pizza for lunch, and other things that get involved when you're living through a student life. So when I was looking for provinces in Canada that I could study at, I narrowed down on either Ontario or British Columbia. Ontario because there's Toronto, and British Columbia because there's Vancouver. Vancouver though didn't have a lot of colleges with marketing management as a discipline. Vancouver though didn't have a lot of colleges with marketing management as a course. On the other hand, Toronto had a whole lot of them. So I was just trying to find the best college that I could go to and the best city that I could live in when I came to Canada. That's how I ended up choosing Toronto, and that's how I ended up at Humber. When it comes to winter, that's something that people are really worried about when they're coming here. But trust me, give it a month or two, you will get used to it. If you definitely cannot handle the snow, I'd say try for British Columbia because they have milder winters compared to Toronto or Ottawa. But if you do want a big city life and more opportunities, then definitely try for Toronto. Alright, so there I was after spending a lot of nights on Google just researching various data points, figuring out a budget, knowing how much I would be spending, knowing how much I would be making, and everything in between. And I decided that Canada is the place for me. Toronto, I'm coming. In 2018, I'm coming there. That's what you should also do. Put in a lot of hard work. But there's one thing I used to do when I used to get tired just researching about housing and about expenses. I used to just take 5 minutes off and watch a video about Canada or about Toronto. Trust me, any place, any country that you're going to, if you want to take some time to relax, refocus yourself, just watch a travel video about the place, and then you'll be more than motivated to research more about the place and try to make it your new home. So guys, in this video we've discussed the cost of living, we've discussed the return on investment, how you can apply for your work visa and your study visa, the minimum wage, and how do you gather data for these factors, which province you can choose in Canada, and how you can make your final decision, hit send on your application, and get admitted to the college of your dreams. So if you like this video, please stay tuned for more. There are also videos by other mentors from different countries who've gone through the same experience. They've been there, they've done that. Follow them and make a great decision on your future.